Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our latest Sawtooth Software webinar entitled Discover Update. This is the second one that I've done and hope to do one every quarter, just giving an update on all the great things we've added to Discover and our plans moving forward into the next quarter. I'm joined by Brian McEwen and Zachary Anderson here at Sawtooth Software, and excited to have everybody here with us today. Just two little notes here. If you haven't checked out Discover, we encourage you to do so. You can go to discover.sawtoothsoftware.com at any time, and it is free to use. There is a limit on the free version. You can collect up to 50 respondents, and then you can't do anything else. You'll also see in this webinar, we're going to be showing a lot about custom coding, custom CSS, custom JavaScripts, not available in the free version. But you can really get a good look at Discover for free by going to that URL and trying it out. Also, we'd encourage you to check out our upcoming webinars. We've only posted one. Brian McEwen will actually be presenting the end of February, an introduction to Conjoint analysis that I encourage you to check out next month. And we have some other exciting plans in place, including a webinar where we're going to discuss AI in market research. So I'm excited about that one. Okay, the agenda for today. This is meant to be a little bit more cozy, casual, a bit of a webinar where we're going to be, I wish you were all in the room with me where we could kind of interact with each other a little bit better. But again, you can use the Q&A now, and Brian or Zach, you guys can interrupt me at any time to ask a question if you'd like. But would really like to just open the curtain a little bit and show you what we're developing with Discover and why we're doing it. And show you what we've done, just show you the vision for where we're going. We talk a little bit about the development process, not much, but then we'll show you what we've done in the last quarter, in Q4, and what we're planning on doing here in Q1. And again, an open discussion, things like what frustrates you about Discover, if anything, what you'd like to see us build in Discover. Just an open discussion on our direction, and any input that you have, we'll have that at the end of towards the end of the hour. Okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about our vision for Discover. We have this statement that we read every 2 weeks as a group, that our goal is to build the most powerful, trusted, and friendly survey-based research platform on Earth to help organizations make the right data-driven decisions. Discover will be the best in the world at choice analytics. This means Conjoint analysis and MaxDiff. We will be the best at this. We are fairly powerful right now in Discover, but we continue to add more power, and will add more power, especially to Conjoint analysis moving forward. We also aim to be the most open and customizable interviewing platform in the world for both standard surveys and choice analytics. So we hope to be a tool that can be used for all of your surveys, not just Conjoint analysis and MaxDiff. And we're aiming to make it a powerful tool where you can customize it and do anything that you want. You will see today we're making a big step forward with some of the customizability. And then this last statement, this platform will give our users superpowers, enabling them to brilliantly do their work. Some of our big guiding principles here. The platform will be customizable, it will be powerful, it will be friendly to build surveys, it's going to be secure, it's going to be efficient and scalable during data collection. The respondent experience is going to be beautiful, it's going to be accessible to those with disabilities, it's going to be mobile friendly, and my favorite, it's going to be zippy fast. So we made a lot of progress on these items, but we still have work to do. Let's talk about what we did in Q4 and go over the different features that we shipped and that we're working on. So We're going to talk about in conjoint analysis, we put in the dual response none option. We put in closed survey, the ability to close a survey. We ship the ability to do the top N in ranking questions. You can turn off the progress bar, and you can put in some custom CSS. We also did some significant work on multiple questions per page and custom JavaScript. So we'll show you these. Let's see here. Now it's time for a demo. So I'm going to open up my tab here and go to Discover. Discover.sawtoothsoftware.com. Anybody can do that. And if you don't have an account, you can click create an account here at the bottom. So I'm going to sign in. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up my cell phone survey that I already have here. And I'm going to show you that in conjoint analysis, I have a conjoint exercise that I've created here with brands and size and price. And when I click on the exercise here on the left, you will see here on the right that it previews. So the thing that we added, you don't have to have a none option, or you can have a traditional none option. And we added the ability in this last quarter to add dual response none. My colleague Brian McEwen is going to jump in and briefly explain why you would use a dual response none. What's the reason for that? Right?
Yeah. So the default approach, Justin, if you change that back to the traditional none. So most of the time people are going to include a none choice in their conjoint. It's not required, but it's nice that it gives us the option for someone to say, hey, all these things that I'm showing you, I don't really like any of them. Sometimes we use it as a status quo. So you might say I'd stick with my current phone, or I would wait a little bit longer, or try to capture that type of behavior. The downside, however, is if you have someone who says the none a lot, we don't learn a lot about their relative preferences. We don't know if they actually like the Apple iPhone or the Samsung Galaxy. We don't know if they choose primarily cheaper phones or if they're okay paying more when it has good features. So it's not the most efficient type of an answer for us. And so you'll notice when Justin chooses the none, that is the choice of the task. If we switch then to the dual response none, this is essentially getting us the most information we can. So we still require the respondent to make a choice among the options above. So Justin can choose his iPhone or his Samsung phone, whichever one he's interested in.
iPhone.
And then I know you have an iPhone, yep. And then he would then ask the follow-up question to say, okay, given what you know about the cell phone market, would you actually buy that type of a phone? And so he can tell us either, yes, this is above my threshold for purchase, or it's the best of the bunch, but no, I wouldn't actually buy this option. Some past research that we've seen at Sawtooth has shown that people tend to say no a bit more often when you ask the question this way, which a lot of people feel like is probably a bit more realistic. Sometimes people are a bit too quick to say yes, it's very easy to spend virtual dollars that I'm not actually going to a store and buying some things. So a lot of people tend to favor this dual response none. And so we wanted to come and bring it into Discover and ratchet up our power a little bit more. The other cool part of it is everything else just works exactly the same. So your experimental design is the same. Analysis, you don't have to do anything special. We handle all the coding of this. And if you're interested in how that works, we've got documentation and white papers and things about that. So it just works. So you toggle the change and life is great.
Thanks, Brian. That happens to be my ideal phone. $350 for a small Apple phone. Sign me up all day. That's a real yes there at the bottom. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next feature we're going to talk about is closed survey. So you will see here that if I publish this and I click on share, then I can click take live survey, and this survey is open for the whole world to take the survey if I give them the URL. If I wanted to close the survey, this is newer here, you can toggle on close survey, and the survey is now closed. And so now your live link, if anybody hits it, it will say this survey is closed. You can click here to edit the message. And then we do have multi-language, and so that can be changed for all of your languages, that the survey is closed. Okay, moving on. So we've covered dual response none, closed survey. I'd like to show you top N, and I'm going to do that in another survey. So I'm going to open up my ice cream MaxDiff. Here it is. Put in a picture here. You can see it on the right. I also have a title, ice cream. And on the left, I have, this is an intro question. And then I go to this brand rank. So next item I want to show you, next feature we built last quarter was the ability to rank the top N. So by default, you have to rank all the items. Here in the ranking question, you can either drag or drop the items, or you can use these drop downs to select the order of the items. But what if you only wanted to have them rank, say, the top 3 of all the items? This is where you can click on the gear icon and select rank a subset, and here 3 or whatever you'd like. And now there's an area here at the top for the top 3. So you might want, Ben and Jerry's as number 1. I don't know, Haagen-Dazs as 3, and maybe, I don't know, Bluebell as 2. So this is the ability to rank the top N of a ranking question. Okay, next up is a small thing, but I want to show them, and this is the ability to turn off the progress bar. So if you were to test this survey here, you will see at the bottom right, there is a little progress bar that says 0% completed, 7% completed. We've had users want to turn that off for various reasons. So you can do that by going into Style and just toggle this off, right? So now when you go into the survey, there is no progress bar. Okay, so I want to show you something else that we've shipped, and it's custom CSS. So I'm guessing most of you don't know much about CSS, and you also don't know much about JavaScript. So I'm going to be kind of slow and thorough when I talk about these things. I don't want you to be intimidated. I want you to realize that what we're doing here is making Discover more flexible and customizable. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is just to let you type in your own CSS or JavaScript. You may not be an expert at it, and that's okay. A lot of times you can just paste in a little snippet that someone gives you, and it will fix things. And the basics of CSS and JavaScript, I believe you could learn and do a lot of things. So there's a little, I guess I'd say, a little bit of CSS and a little bit of JavaScript go a long way, and we're opening up the doors to that. So we have shipped custom CSS. You can type in CSS code here at any time. But before we talk more about that, I'm going to spend a few minutes teaching you just kind of some basics about CSS. So let me get to share my screen again. So before I can tell you about CSS, just want to talk to you a little bit about HTML. So behind every web page, there is HTML. And HTML defines the structure of the web page and also, can do some formatting. So in this example, the top right there, you'll see a browser looking thing. And the screen says, "You are awesome," and it has awesome underlined. That's what you see when you look at your web browser. But if you were to look behind the scenes at the HTML, you would see the bottom right, which says, "You are awesome." And it has these things that we call tags. So you see that there is a left arrow, U, right arrow, and then there's awesome, and then there's there's a closing tag, which is the left arrow / U, right arrow. So this part here, right, says everything in between the opening tag and the closing tag needs to be underlined. These arrows and the U there, those don't show up. You don't see those in the browser. They're just instructions on what to do with that text once a browser interprets it. So there's all kinds of tags you can use. One of them is called a div tag. And just think about that as an invisible rectangle. It's kind of like Legos. It's a way to kind of move things around on the screen and put things inside boxes or rectangles. And you can give them names. So this div, I've given it a name. It's called a class. I've given it a class name called survey-header. So it's just like giving it a name so that I can access it and point to it later. So and here, this example, it says, "This is the survey header." This div, opening div and closing div, this just draws an invisible rectangle around that text. This is the survey header. And then it gives it a name, survey header. Okay, so what we've done in Discover, and by the way, this also exists in Lighthouse Studio, is we have given all the different sections on the survey. When you actually take the survey, we've given all those sections class names or names, and we provided documentation on what they all are. So if you want to change the survey header, you'll see here to the top right of this graphic, survey-header. That is the name of the invisible rectangle that's around survey header. And then you can then give it some instructions on what styles to change its background color, or give it a border, or make it invisible. Lots of different things you can do. So this is in our documentation, and it's just pointing to all the different elements on the screen. We're pointing to the back button, the next button, the survey progress area, and you can mess with those things. Make sense? Okay, so the basics of CSS are that you, one, have a selector, and then you, inside curly braces, you define different properties and values for those properties, and you can do multiple of these separated by semicolons. So for example, there is an HTML tag called an H1. If the H1 exists, then you can specify H1, and then you can say, "Hey, everybody who's an H1, I want to," and color happens to be text color. Everybody who's H1, I want to change the text color to blue. So again, property, colon, the value. And then if you want to do another one, it's semicolon to separate these. Property, font size, colon, value, 12 pixels. A pixel is like a little dot on the screen, and that's a way to do size. So 12 pixels is a nice readable size for a font size. Okay, down below here, this is just a little snippet of CSS. So I'm saying, hey, everywhere where I have question text, and you notice you have to, this is a class name, the question text, and class names you start with a dot. So it's dot question dash text. Every rectangle, every invisible rectangle on the screen who has a class question text, I want to change your text color to white. Okay, hopefully some of that makes sense. I really like this website called w3schools.com, and you can go to w3schools.com/CSS and just do a little, beginner tutorial on CSS to become familiar with it. Okay, so now that you've learned a little bit about CSS, we're going to come back to the demo. So in this demo, I want to do a few things that will change the look of the survey. So I'm going to come in here to Style, Custom CSS, and I'm first going to start with specifying the thing that I want to change. In this example, I want to change the whole entire background color. And there's an HTML tag called body that is the whole entire web page. So I'm going to type in body. And you can see here that our editor is, trying to help you with some ideas here. So like, even if I just type in B-O, it's kind of like, do you want to do body? And if I hit enter, then it will fill that in. So on the body, and then I want to do curly braces, I want to change the background color. So I'm going to say background, and you can see here, again, it's giving me all these hints. So I want to do background color, black. And that's it. Let's see what happens when I do that. Click on the test button. Ooh, everything turned black. You can see here that the text now is kind of hard to read because my text, it was kind of a gray. It's a gray, and gray on black's hard to read. So now I'm going to put in another kind of rule. I'm going to say, hey, everybody who is question text, I want to change your color to white. Again, color stands for text color. So I'm going to try that. Boom, you see that the text color is now white. And then I'm going to click next. Now I'm in here with this, you can see here that there is different colors here. So anyway, there's all kinds of different elements here and things that you can change. And it does take a little bit of work to get it perfect, but I just wanted to show you the basics. I'll show you this a little bit later, but if you right click on your browser and you say inspect, and then you click, and I'm on the Google Chrome browser, but there's similar tools in other browsers. But if you click inspect, this brings up a thing called browser tools, and it's a way to kind of like go behind the scenes. So immediately here, you'll see here down at this window all the HTML that makes up the web page, and that's why I use body, because this one right here is called body. If I click on this little chooser icon on the far left, I can move my mouse over and click on the different elements on the page. And then down here, it will highlight it. So that's an H2 tag with a class question dash text. That's why when I changed the question text to white, it changed. And then I can see the HTML here, but on the right-hand side, I can see the CSS that I specified. So check this out. If I uncheck the box, it will get rid of white, and you can see that on the screen that it turns on and off. Anyway, so just a little introduction to browser tools and how you can change and mess with the CSS. CSS turns out to be very powerful. It's not just making things look pretty. You can also show and hide things. You can build tooltips and all kinds of cool things. Okay, so that is the custom CSS, and that is shipped. let's see. I now want to jump back to my slides. So kind of, got done covering all the things that we did, just going back here in Q4. We did do some significant work on multiple questions per page, but we're not quite done yet. And we'll be shipping that very soon. But I'm going to show you that here in a bit. And I'm also going to show you some pretty amazing custom JavaScript stuff that we've done. Okay, so before I get into our plans for Q1, I have a big warning here. We can't guarantee anything. We work hard, but software development's really tricky and it's hard to predict. And also our plans and priorities can change. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our plans for this next quarter. We have a development team. We have three teams actually working on Discover, two development teams and a platform team. And we are running Scrum. So every 2 weeks, we build software and then we make a plan. And then at the end of 2 weeks, we review what we've done and ideally try to ship things at the end of every 2 weeks. And we want a lot of customer interaction. So we show you, we ship it to our customers, we get feedback, and we make improvements and keep going. We do have a Discover panel that you can join if you're not already on it. You can email me, justin@sawtoothsoftware.com, and I can add you to our Discover panel where we ask folks for feedback and show them sneak peeks and things like that. Okay, so we are starting work on what we call the numeric grid. This is a grid question where you can have numeric input. So here on the left, you can see just a lot of input boxes across the rows, HR, product sales, column, full-time, part-time. You enter in numbers in a grid format. And on the right this is kind of our plans for how the interface will look. You'll be able to have decimals. You'll be able to have input labels to the left and the right of every individual input, etc. We also hope to get to open-end grid. Same thing as a numeric grid, except for we can put in open-end value inputs. So here, for example, would be a 1-column grid where you can put in first name, last name, company title, and kind of make it look like a form here, is what you could do with the open-end grid. Bipolar, we're coming up with this name here. Semantic diff is what we called it in Lighthouse Studio. This is where you can have items on the left and items on the right, and we can ask people which they prefer more. Do you more prefer summer or winter? Do you more prefer sweet or salty? This one is really cool and being asked for by a number of customers, and it's display logic. So display logic, we already have skip logic where, after the question is answered, you can skip from point A to point B. Display logic is really great because you can attach some logic to an individual question. And it's essentially saying, only show this question if. So you can see here on the left, display if foods, if the foods includes, chips and salsa, hot dogs, or pizza, then show this question. Otherwise, don't show it. And so if you're not familiar with display logic or attaching display logic to a question, it is a really great way to build a survey. And it will make building surveys so much easier if you can say, show or hide me if, versus skip around it. So there's times where you want to use either or, but we're going to be adding this. In addition, we're going to make it, we're building multiple questions per page. So we're going to make it so that on the same page, you can show and hide a question. So for example, let's say you have one question, where do you live? And as soon as you answer that question, you could then pop up a question below it. So in this example, you live in Canada, And then how do you like living in Canada will show and hide as soon as they answer that on the same page. So we're excited about this feature, very powerful. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, looking at the clock here, is items that we're currently working on that we're almost done with. I can't promise you a release date, but we are very, very close, as close as this dog running at you, to getting this shipped. So we have multiple questions per page, custom JavaScript, and on-the-fly variables. And I have some cool things to show you, and I'm looking at the clock. I hope I can fit it all in the next 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll have a good Q&A at the end. Oh, and by the way, in order to show you this, I have to show a development version of Discover. And it's a little bit like the Wild West. We're still developing. There could be bugs. Just fair warning. It's not the real Discover. It's an internal development version I have to show you. Okay. So I'm going to go to, and you can see this, it's not the normal Discover dot. It's an internal one. And I'm going to refresh this to make sure we're good to go. And okay, so the first thing I want to show you is how to do multiple questions per page. Again, this is not shipped yet. This is what we're working on. We're close to shipping it. So I'm going to create a new survey. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a question. And this is going to be a numeric question. So one where I'm asking a number. And I'm going to name this question age. And I'm going to say, how old are you? And you can see a preview here on the right. And you might notice here that you see this word page one. So we now have pages, and you can add an element to that same page. I'm going to add another numeric question, and I'm going to call this mother age. And I'm going to say, how old is your mother? So these both exist on the same page. And if I want to add another page with another question on it, I move my mouse down, and I can either add a skip or quota, or I can add another element on its own page. So here, I'm just going to ask a single select, and I'm just going to say, where were you born? And it's going to be just Canada, US. Okay. So here we have two pages. One page has two questions. The next page has one question. You can drag and drop questions between pages and so on. There's a lot of kind of interactions here. I'm not going to go into it all, but that's the main idea, right? Multiple questions on one page. I'm now going to jump into JavaScript. Again, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed here if you don't know JavaScript. And for the most part, I think you can do some copying and pasting, and it's not going to be too bad. So low anxiety. So you might want to do some custom verification here. You might not want to allow someone to be older than their mother, for example. So how would you prevent that? Our built-in verification is going to make sure they put in a number. And you can also come in here and set the range, right? To make sure, it's between, I don't know, 0 and 120. I don't know how old people can get. So we'll do that here for both groups. But how do you make sure that that your age is actually younger than the mother's age? So we have something that we have added. You'll see this once we ship it, a custom JavaScript area. And it's a lot like that custom CSS area where we have an editor here where you can type in code. We are going to have in our help some default text that you can copy and paste. So I'm familiar with JavaScript, but even I will forget exactly how to type all the squiggly braces and things. And so I expect most people will want to just copy and paste this code. Also, this is kind of like our first step into this. We will be making it easier in the future, but this is like the full power. So this code, what it does is it allows you to run custom code right here when Q1 is being validated. So when they click the next button, we run our verification to make sure everything's good. And this will allow you to run your custom code when that event happens. So again, don't freak out about everything, just paste it in. This thing here, though, says, which question do you want to run this on? So if you look back over here, we're going to run this on mother age. And so I'm going to change this default Q1 to say mother age. So when the mother age question is verified, run this. Then what it does is on line 6, it's saying, whatever happens here, if it's true or false, run some code. If this evaluates to true or false, if it's true, then set an error message to this, and then that error message will show. Okay, so I got to go a little faster here, but what I want to do is I want to grab the values of both those questions. So the one is age, so I'm going to do, I'm going to create a variable called age, and I'm going to say get value, and then type in age. And then I'm going to do that exact same thing. And this time I'm going to do it for mother age. Okay, I'm going to call a variable mother age. So now I've grabbed what the age is. I've grabbed what the mother's age is. And here I just want to run the logic. I want to say, hey, if your age is greater than the mother age, that's a problem. And I want to say your mother cannot be younger than you. Got it? So if this evaluates to true, then we set the error message and the form does not get submitted. Let's test it. Ooh, I'm running out of time. Okay, so how old are you? I'm a ripe old 47. How old is your mother? I'm going to lie. She's 34. And you'll see that the customer verification engages, and they're not able to submit the page until their mother is older than they are. Okay, makes sense. Again, kind of went fast there, but the idea is you're going to be able to copy and paste. So you're not going to have to worry about all the syntax. You're going to have to change what question it's looking at. And then you're going to have to write a little bit of logic, or a lot, whatever you'd like, in order to find out if you should show an error message or not. Okay, so got to move along here, but that's kind of cool feature number 1 that I want to show you with this custom JavaScript. And then I want to show you something else that I'm extremely excited about, and that is setting variables on the fly. I'm going to, for this one, I'm just going to keep creating new surveys just to keep it clean. So this one, I'm going to create a new question called age again, but this time it's going to be a single select with some categories. So I'll call this age, and I'll say, how old are you? And then I'm going to grab some age categories. And they have to choose between 6 age categories, how old they are, right? But what I want to do is I want to do subcategories. So I want to have like the first 2, I want to say they're in the young category if they're in those first 2. The middle 2, they're in the middle category. And the top 2, I'm going to say they're in the older category. So I'm going to go up to Tools and a Variable Manager, and I'm going to create a new variable called Age Category. Okay. And by default, it wants to put it in the URL. And in this case, I don't want it in the URL. So there's a variable called age category. So this feature, right, on the fly variables allows you to create a variable, and throughout the survey, you can assign to it, and then it then gets saved to the database and exported. One kind of quick and dirty way you can assign a variable is by going what we're calling the squiggly squigglies. So anywhere you type code, you can do squiggly squiggly and close squiggly squiggly. And right in here, you can just type in JavaScript. This is meant for basically single line, just like a small snippet of JavaScript, not multi-line. But here I'm going to say age underscore category equals young. Okay. I'm then going to add another question here at the bottom, just so we can show it back to the screen. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to say age underscore category. Okay. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to click test. And I told you that I might have problems. This is a dev version that is giving me fits. I'm going to see if refreshing will work. Bummer. Okay, here it goes. So how old are you? Young shows back to the screen. So it essentially, it assigned young to age category. And so now that that's now saved, it will be throughout, you can use it throughout the survey and skip logic or wherever you want, and then it will be exported. If you do it with the squiggly squigglies, it shows back to the screen. There's a trick to avoid that, but you can do something like this, where it will no longer show to the screen if you do something like that. But anyway, so here I'm going to, just click anything in here for now, and you'll see on the next screen that, sorry, bad demo, but young was displayed on the next screen. So I got to move along a little quicker here. What I'm going to do now is make these into categories. So that was just kind of a quick way to show you how I can assign things. So this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use the verification kind of hook to do a little bit of logic. So what I'm going to do is grab this part that's going to be in our, documentation, and you're going to come into custom JavaScript, and you can just paste this same thing I pasted last time. Okay, so this time we want to hook into what happens when the age essentially is validated or submitted there. So we're going to type in age. And in this example, I'm just going to delete everything in here because I actually don't want to run custom validation. I just want to do something when that event happens. So in this example, I have some pre-written code that I am going to paste in. So what I'm saying, I'm getting the value of age, and I'm saying if age is less than 3, then I want to set that age category variable to young. If age is less than 5, then I want to set that age category variable to middle. And if age category is greater than or equal to 5, which means the fifth item in that multi-select, then I want to set to older. Okay, so that's all there. And I should be showing it on the following screen. So let's just see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to go 65 plus. And you'll see that it says older. Again, this is going to be available in skip logic, in quota control, to show back on the screen, whatever you'd like. 25 to 34, that's going to be middle. So anyway, had to go fast here, but that's extremely powerful and extremely easy way to set variables during the survey and to use them. I'm going to show you one additional demo, and I'm going to show you how you can set up functions set up functions and call them throughout the survey. So what I'm going to do is create a question. I was going to do two. Okay, I'll go fast. So I want to do, first I'm going to do email. So I'm going to create a new question called email and just enter your email. And I want to validate that that's a good email address. So how do I do validation? Again, I'm going to copy in this code that we'll have in our documentation. And then I'm going to change it. So this thing I named email. So I'm going to check for email here. And then I've written some code here that will check for email. So here I'm getting the value for email, and I'm seeing if it is a valid email. If it's not, if it's equal to false. If it's not a valid email, say this is not a valid email address. Well, gee, how would I write that other function called is valid email? Well, I want to show you something kind of cool. It's called ChatGPT. And you can go to ChatGPT and you can type in, hey, write some JavaScript that verifies an email address. That'd be cool. And it says certainly. And then it comes back and it writes a little bit of code. And so I'm just going to copy that code that it wrote called is valid email. And then I'm going to paste that function in this area, right? So this calls a function called is valid email, which I just got from ChatGPT. And then I'm passing in the email that I got from my page. If it doesn't work out, if it's false, then I'm going to say this is not a valid email address. And again, I'm going fast because of time, but I think you might like this. So if I type in garbage, then it's going to say this is not a valid email address. If I say Justin at and still some garbage, this is not a valid email address. But then if I do Justin whatever.com, have that proper format, it's going to let me by. Another thing I want to show you is how you can call this region thing. So anyway, what I want to do in the next example, final example, is I'm going to have a question called shoes. We can just call it Q1. So would you buy shoes for, and then I'm just going to put it in a blank. And I'm going to spell would right. So I have yes, and then I have no. What my job here is, what I want to do is I want to show a price that can change whether they're from the UK or from the US. So I'm going to have a pass-in variable, and this one I'm going to call region, and I'm actually going to include it in the URL. And then I've prepared a function that I want to show you guys. And this one, you can just paste in a function here, and this is called show price. So essentially, I'm building my own custom function called show price. I'm passing in an amount, and I have an exchange rate for the UK. If the region, the variable that I pass into my survey, if the region is UK, then I want to return a result that has the pound sign and then the amount multiplied by the exchange rate. Otherwise, I'm going to assume it's US based and have a dollar sign with the amount, and then I'm going to return the result. So this is just called show price, and I put in an amount, and then I'm going to come back to build, and I'm going to put in here my squiggly, squiggly, space, squiggly, squiggly. That means run a little snippet of code in here, and I'm just going to paste show price, and I'm going to ask people if if they're willing to buy shoes for $100 if it's US, and then convert that to pounds if it's UK. Let's see if that works. Okay, so in this example, I'm going to pass in through the pass-in variable region, which I'm going to say UK. I'm going to put in a valid email address. And you can see here that it doesn't work. So I have UK and it comes back at $100, but it shouldn't have. And I'm not sure I have time to debug that. I don't have time, but one thing I will show you is that you can put in this word debugger with a semicolon, and let's try that again. So if you put in debugger and then you open up the browser console, when you click the next button, it will actually run this and allow you to step through your code. So you can see here that amount is passed in at 100. There's an exchange rate. Region is UK. I think I entered it wrong in the wrong order last time, but I think it's going to work this time. But essentially, I step through and I can see what happens. And maybe I still got something wrong. Okay, there it is. So UK, and would you buy shoes for 79 pounds? And you can put this, you can now put this little squiggly show price everywhere throughout your survey, and it's basically dynamic text. Whew. So that is the end of my presentation. Actually, a few more things here. Demo. Just some tips here on learning JavaScript. And yeah, ready for the discussion. I only left about 7 minutes. Apologize for that, but ready to answer any questions. And thank you for hanging in there and listening. Brian, Zach, what questions do we have?
Okay, I've got one. Helpfully, Brian Orm reminded me that we actually did something even cooler with the dual response none. We made it so that you can do a scale if you want. I don't know if you want. I just shared a survey with you, Justin, or I can share my screen really quick and just show an example of a dual response none scale.
Okay, do we have other questions before that, or is that about the bulk of the questions?
We had a question. Sarah wanted to know how much we're letting people do with custom code. So he asked, for example, can we add images, JavaScript, work with APIs, do things from other servers? That was his question.
Yeah, we're going to have to figure that out. We also want it to be very secure. That's one of our requirements. But we want to be flexible as well. So there's always a trade-off between flexibility and security, and we're going to have to work that through. But I would imagine you'll be able to call APIs as long as we kind of validate that they're appropriate and that kind of stuff. But our intention is that it will be extremely powerful, and being able to call APIs is a part of that.
Okay. We've got a Lighthouse Studio user wanting to know, will it be possible to use graphical buttons like in Lighthouse Studio?
Yes.
Great. We've got another Lighthouse user asking about a handful of things. Some things in Lighthouse, we call them system variables, the browser, the operating system, those type of system variables. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think we will be adding those. It will be similar to Lighthouse Studio. I believe that you'll be able to specify whether you want to collect them or not. but that's certainly something that we will be considering putting in there. I see also here, questions about there are still some features that we have in Legacy Discover that we haven't yet put in the newer Discover. I would guess most all of those are coming, but it's just, when and how. And we have some other higher priorities right now we're trying to hit, but those will be coming eventually. I can't
Yep.
give you a promise or a timeline.
We definitely know we're dancing back and forth. We know there's a lot of flexibility specific to choice-based conjoint, simulation methods and advanced design features and things like that. There's a lot of fun stuff we do with MaxDiff designs. And there's a whole great big world of just general survey programming of randomizations and things like that. So we definitely want to do it all eventually. And that's the hardest part of what Justin and I do, is thinking about what we do next, because it's all good and it's all important. And yeah, we love the feedback. We appreciate people voicing some things that they want to see.
Yeah, and
Um,
just so everyone knows, Brian's the Discover product manager, and I'm VP of product, so we work closely together, kind of the product management area. And Zach Anderson, who's on the call with us, he is a super software developer on Discover.
yep. Do you have any plans about SPSS exporting?
I know it's a
Discover?
thing. I know a lot of people want it, so I would say yes, we want to do it, but when is a good question. But we know SPSS is something people want.
Yep. We had a question about loops and block randomization.
Oh yeah.
And my guess is that's going to be the same answer. We've got people
Same.
asking about that. We definitely want to do it.
Mhm.
We've got some ideas in the pipeline about how to make it as powerful as what we do in Lighthouse, and perhaps a bit easier on the user. And so that's high up on the list
Yeah, we've
as
definitely
well for
talked
us.
about kind of like random blocks. We were actually going to get to that this quarter, but I pushed it off. So it will be coming.
Yep. We had someone requesting an example of some of the results reporting. I don't know if you want to switch to Discover, maybe to the CAPS COLA survey or something, or another survey you have, just to show an example of some of the charts and reports that we do
Yeah,
in
I'm just
Discover.
trying to be sensitive on time here, but I will do that. Let's see here. I don't know if you just want to see what the reporting looks like.
Yep.
Okay. This is unscripted.
So
Um,
we do allow for full downloads into Excel, so you can always take things out. But we do build some general charts. I think you're in the test data of this one right now.
okay. Okay, so here just a general summary of what's going on in the survey. You see the quota information here below. If you click on records, like Brian was saying, you can download an Excel spreadsheet of all the data. And there's also this analysis area where you can look at individual questions. That's still loading. And then here, so if an individual question might look something like this, and you can scroll through all the results of those. And then we have here is a MaxDiff results. We also have turf, and then you can do crosstabs. That was the very quick overview of the analysis. Brian, I know you wanted to show something with the CBC. If you could just explain it, and then I think we should wrap things up. We're hitting our hour.
Um, yeah, we don't need a demo. We are out of time. I just it was a good a good reminder. So the default approach to dual response none is to say, would you actually do this? Yes, no. We do also have the capability to allow you to expand the scale. So you could ask, for example, a 5-point scale and say, definitely would not, probably would not, might or might not, probably would, definitely would. And then you can say, I just want to take like a top 2 box
Yep.
type of a thing. So that was all.
So, yep, we added some flexibility to that. Anyway, thank you for making it through the hour. Hopefully, all the custom stuff didn't glaze your eyes over, but rest assured, it opens up lots of doors. I do love to talk, so please give me an email at justin@sawtoothsoftware.com. Happy to chat with you and see what your requests are. We did not have, any kind of requests of things that you'd like to see and discover, reasons that you're not using it. And if you just have these features, you'd consider using it. We'd love to hear that. Any feedback at all. Thank you. And until next time, talk to you later.